Hello, Pisces. I'm here to do a full year love tarot reading where we're going to be looking at every single month for the entire year of 2026 in this reading. That's including those of you who are in and out of a relationship at this point. For those of you who are single, for those of you who are separated, for those of you who are in a relationship. And when we do this, we are going to be using a tarot deck that is called the Yokai Tarot, which has Japanese mythological characters on it, so the cards are really neat to look at. But it is a deck which is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith traditional tarot. So you're going to get the same interpretations as always. And I'm actually using a secondary deck that you'll see in a moment, which will be for some extra clarification, but also for some extra event energy that happens in each month. Because each one of these cards that we go over, it's going to give us the main energy. That's what the cards are that I'm using right now. Think of this as January's main energy, February, March, April, May. Each month has their own main energy, and then the extra deck that I'm going to use will give some extra insight into that month. So we're not just looking at one energy. Let me just get these all laid out for you, and then we will zoom in. I also want to mention that I'm going to put the timestamps for each month in the description of this video. That way you can fast forward if you ever need to. If you ever want to watch this video again, and maybe it's the future and you're watching it again in the month of October, you can always click the month in the timestamp area and zoom right over to the month of October, because this video is going to be lengthy. This is going to be an hour-long video, because we are going over 12 entire months. And so if you're okay with all of that, then let's get started. Let me just grab my pen here. I got my fancy notebook. I'm going to start us off at the 2-minute mark. I just want to write down 2 minutes for the month of January. That way I can keep track of the timestamps for each of these sections. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's get zoomed in here for a second as we start with the month of January, which for you is a tower moment. Why is the main energy a tower moment? Now, I'm going to pull an extra clarification card because tower moments can feel uncomfortable, of course, but tower moments can also be something that you're supposed to go through to get you to a better outcome. So let's use, oh my God, you just pulled out the tower moment again. Oh my gosh, I was going to say, let's use the Dark Fantasy Tarot deck and get some clarification. I'm going to pull another one again, but let me tell you what I think about having the Tower card in January in the upright and the Tower card in the reversal all in the same month. Essentially, when the Tower is in the upright, it's a lot more likely of a situation where it's like the imminent moment of crumbling is happening in that month. Whereas the Tower, when it's in the reversal, is a tendency for it to be that point where you're trying to rebuild things back up. So to some degree, it feels like the Tower moment energy that you might be experiencing in the month of January is actually a Tower moment concerning a previous Tower moment. That's what it feels like. It feels like a continuation of a situation where, now let's break it down into those of you who are in a relationship and not in a relationship, etc., etc. It feels like some of you who were in a relationship had a Tower moment with somebody, had like a problem within the dynamic of your relationship prior to the month of January, but in the month of January, you're still dealing with that. And in fact, some of you may experience another bit of a fallout in the month of January that resembles the Tower moment that you had previously. For those of you who are separated from someone, this could look like that, you know, that separation, the situation that caused your separation could all of a sudden come back up in the month of January between you and the person that you're dealing with, especially if you have any conflicting words or communication that you have been having lately with that particular person. For those of you who are not in a relationship, but perhaps you had your eye on somebody, perhaps you're in the friend zone, it could very well be that you had some kind of a situation go on between the two of you that kept you in that friend zone or kept you distant, and the facet of that distance and the uncomfortable nature of it is resurfacing, showing itself back up here in the month of January. Let me grab another card here. It's the card of the Star. For those of you who are again, separated from someone, especially those of you who are friend zoned, the Star card is the card of hopelessness. And it's a little bit harsh of a reality when you have to go through the energies where you feel hopeless about uniting with somebody, and then a Tower moment happens anyways, because it usually takes that hopelessness and buries it even more so into your psyche. Not buries it, but reinforces it. It almost feels like there's a continuation of hopelessness energy. For those of you who are not dating anybody, don't have your eye on anybody, or you're just thinking of getting back out into the dating world, again, for some reason, you're still feeling the effects of destruction or situations that were torn down from your past, and it may be leading you to feel this sense of hopelessness. The one thing that I'm going to say, two things that I'm going to say about this dynamic of the Tower and the Star card. First, I'll give you a bit of a history lesson, because you guys know I love talking about psychology, history, science, etc. When I do readings for you guys, I always like blending those avenues. And the Tower card is one such card that I don't get to talk about often, but from a historical perspective, Arthur Edward Waite, who was the author and creator of the most famous tarot deck, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, when he published his book, The Pictorial Key to the Tarot in 1910, he wrote a section in the introduction where he was discussing the High Priestess and the differences of the High Priestess to the Hierophant card, the Pope. And what he said, historically speaking again, is that the High Priestess is the one who's supposed to assist in crumbling down the power of the Pope. Because he likened the Pope card, or the Hierophant card, as the Church of the False Doctrine. The Church of rigid dogma is the word that he used. And that the rigid dogma needed to be torn down because the High Priestess card was the card of the true temple of God, which is, again, from a historical point. And in a moment, we're going to take that old historical lesson and put it into what it means for your life, like the macrocosm to the microcosm. But in that statement where he decided to talk about these two cards, he snuck in a sentence that was really telling. He said, the moment that the rigid dogma crumbles, it crumbles because of the Tower. That's why the picture of the Tower is a picture of a foundation crumbling. It's the picture of the church crumbling. The Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Empire, is the historical reason why the Tower is there. According to Arthur Edward Waite, when we are interpreting his deck, right? Each deck is different. He gave instructions on how to interpret his deck, and that's one of the things that you'll notice. So you've got the Tower, but what's unique is the Tower it's happening twice. It almost looks like a Tower moment for each person is being mirrored here. So intuitively, one of you who's going through an actual current Tower moment in January, you might find that what's being torn down is your previous views of how the relationship or experience between you two is supposed to unfold. The reason why you felt so hopeless is because you may have given yourself rules or like a white picket fence view of how you think your joining up with a person is supposed to go. And then the universe is like, nope, I'm gonna make this person go on a 3-week journey. They're gonna go travel here, then they're gonna meet their love. All of these things, or they're gonna unite 2 years down the road. All of these different things that you tell yourself about how it should go. When it doesn't happen that way in love, it's usually why a person gets hopeless. But that is rigidity. That's limited thinking. It's narrow-mindedness, to be honest. What needs to happen is to have an open perspective about the fact that you can still have love, because this brings me to the second part. Remember, I wanted to just say the two things that I was thinking of with the Tower card is one, and then with the Star card, the Star card insinuates that you do have a wish fulfillment coming. You just can't see it. It's the card of hopelessness in front of the face of actual reasons to have hope. So the Tower moment, I think that's happening here is the tearing down of mind frames inside of you or a person that you're dealing with, so that you guys can stop, or you or the other person can stop being so hopeless and stop being so rigid in your thinking. Now, let's see if those kind of things change, because that's one of the things that happens in a tarot reading like this when you're talking about like 6 months or 12 months, is we usually start to see if you have gotten over, or if your person has gotten over this rigid rule system that they seem to be making up for themselves. And again, one more time, by rigid rules, it's like a person who thinks it has to go this way. Your rules have to go like this. I have to do this. I have to be perfect. I have to have, self-love even to have love. You don't actually need those. You can grow those on the path of finding love, but as a human, you do deserve love just because of the virtue of you being a human. Like, you were born, therefore you deserve love, right? And we learn, like getting on a bike, right? Some people are not prepared to go forward in love because they treat it like it needs to be perfect and rigid. But if you wanted to ride a bike, did you ride a bike because you waited for a perfect moment, or did you just get on the bike? You see what I'm saying? And if you fell off the bike and got scared of it, I'm using a metaphor here, did you keep yourself off the bike, or did you get back on it and continue with relationships, or continue to try again? See what I'm saying? But for some reason, we don't do that in love a lot of the times. We hold back and we become rigid. We don't want to touch any of it. We're like, I'm not getting in another relationship, or I'm not talking to that person again. So we give ourselves rigid, closed-minded views. All right. Anyways, into the month of February here at the 11-minute mark. We just did a long January, and your February's interpretation is the Four of Swords in the reversal position. I find this interesting because most people don't know this, and this is wild to me. But the Four of Swords in the reversal, which usually looks like a person who's healing, because it's usually got a depiction of like a tombstone on the front of it, or someone in a mausoleum. The Four of Swords in the reversal, according to Arthur Edward Wade, is a card of avarice and economy and precaution, especially in things that are financial. And people are like, wait a minute, it's the sword suit. It's the suit of the swords. That must mean it's the suit of intellect. It's the suit of the air. Go look at Arthur Edward Wade's instructions for his deck. He's not actually a fan of using astrology. That is a Grand Orient tradition, or rather a Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Arthur Edward Wade pulled away from that facet, but a lot of people do interpret tarot with astrology. And I mean, hey, I'm doing a Pisces reading. So if it suits your intuition, then you are allowed to do that. I'm not saying you're not allowed to incorporate astrology, but I'm saying when you use a person's deck, do it the way they gave the instructions on it. And he's the one who said the Four of Swords is a connection to financial things like the love of money, the love of perfection, getting their lifestyle perfect, but also economic situations. So I'm going to pull a card here. It's the High Priestess in the reversal. The High Priestess, remember I just said about her and the Tower and the Pope card. The High Priestess is the card that's supposed to get you into following your intuition and your heart, like the Fool card does. She's the one who tears down rigidity, right? Remember, she tears down the High Priestess card. And if she's in the reversal, then there's resistance to doing that. There's a resistance to seeing the truth, and it's probably because somebody's preferring their lifestyle. So if you're in a relationship with someone, they may be really focused on their work or their business or their whatever it is. It's their identity of how they think the life should be. Their rigidity is still here, or the High Priestess wouldn't be in the reversal. If she was in the upright, she would be doing the job of pulling away all these rules that people think they have. And for those of you who are separated from someone, it could be the same thing. Your person or you could be very resistant to like working in the realms of intuition and love, because you're really focused on almost like, boss babe mode, or, being the king of your kingdom, whatever it is with identity and money and economy. Somebody's really focused on that. And that rigidity of the material world is robbing somebody of being able to look into their intuition. Actually, speaking of, let me just put my pen down here. We're at the 14-minute and 18-second mark. We're going to go into the month of March, because I just said the High Priestess has an issue where they cannot access the inner sides of themselves to show them the true path of coming together with someone. And it's connected to the Fool card. And look at the card you just got. You do have the Fool card next. Also, I want to say, just before we move on to that for those of you who are not in a relationship and you're not dating somebody, you don't have your eye on anybody, then the energy belongs to you, where you're being way too perfectionist about the way you want to handle relationships, and you're very over focused on things like money or the material world, and your intuition is probably going to yell at you a little bit for that. Because for some reason, if your intuition card, which is also right here, the High Priestess, and the Fool card were in the reversal, then it's going to kind of like try and shake you out of that. Like the universe is going to try to get you to remember to listen to your heart more. And usually the sound of your intuition gets louder and louder as you go along. Where you might find yourself saying, now you might find yourself being like, I don't know if I'm ready to go into relationships. Later on down the road, the universe might make your intuition yell at you and be like, no, try again. No, try again. Keep trying, keep trying. Things like that, right? Okay, into the month of March, we have the Fool, like I said, in the reversal. And the Fool is the card of a person who needs to make sure that they're not afraid of failure. This person goes on a path. Like, again, the historical and traditional story of tarot is that the Fool card in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck goes on a journey where he bumps into the other characters in the major arcana. He bumps into the Magician first. He goes along and he bumps into people like the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and he learns something from each of them. But when he goes on this path, you see how right in front there is no path. It's a cliffside. I mean, that's what it looks like in the card. The truth of the card, though, is that below the card is the path. You can't see the path in life sometimes, and so some people freeze and they don't want to move forward because they can't see the answer to something. So they don't even try. And that's because they're afraid of failure in the future. They don't want to try again because they're afraid they're going to get hurt. They're afraid they're going to proverbially fall off the cliff, right? In the upright position, in order to take those chances and risks, a person is listening to their heart. Listening to their heart tell them it's okay, you're not going to fall. Just get on the bike and try again a little bit. And even if you fall, you can get back up. The heart continues to try to lead them to something that's important to the heart. But in the reversal, the Fool card means somebody is not listening to their heart. Just like the High Priestess in the reversal is somebody who's not listening to their intuition. And where does intuition come from? It's a heart-centric thing. It's a heart, gut-centric thing, so the two cards are kind of connected that way in the path of resistance. And it gives that understanding that somebody is in their head way too much in the month of March. Let me grab a clarification card that goes along with that. It is the Temperance card. This is interesting because it's the card of needing to take time. And I think I think it's agreeable that you or your person, this is why there's a fear. It's because somebody doesn't feel like they have the right time to be able to go forward. They feel like they need more time. But it's also a card of groundedness. So to some degree, it's actually useful. Like if a person is having this much difficulty listening to their intuition and listening to their heart, then they probably should be taking the time that they need. But in addition, the Temperance is one of the cards historically that has angels with blue wings, not red, not archontic energy. Instead, this is the kind of angel that's actually like a guardian angel guiding you on a path. So although it is some lesson and journey about needing to listen to your heart more, not be so afraid of the outcomes, not over focus on the material world so much, for whoever this energy is, you or a person you're talking to, it's also an insinuation that the universe is bringing you through this path on purpose. That you're having to go through this over-focus mode so that you can understand what it looks like to over-focus on something that's not led by your heart. Maybe you or the person that you're dealing with is in like fight, flight, and freeze response. Maybe they're in survival mode. And aren't we all half the time? Because the economy sucks. People are having difficulties with jobs. People are having difficulties with their lifestyle. So they really want that foundation to be secure in order to go off and find love. They kind of want to deal with things one step at a time. So I get it. It is true. But there is something to be said about the fact that the universe can handle both of them. You don't have to split it up technically. You don't have to wait for yourself to be perfect financially in a material world to have a spiritual benefit that the universe brought you together with somebody that you love. See what I'm saying? We like to plan things one at a time when humans want to control stuff in our lives. But the universe is pretty damn capable of doing even more than just 2 things. You could have like 5 things on the go and the universe can handle that with you. But you have to have the faith and trust to open yourself up from a limited thinking, which is another theme we're seeing here with the Fool card in the journey that you go. So for those of you who are in a relationship, there's still too much narrow-mindedness. It doesn't really resolve itself yet. For those of you who are not in a relationship, you're separated, one of you is really over-focused on that material aspect and perfectionist and closed-minded thinking that you'll need to branch out of. And for those of you who are going into the dating world soon, I think it's crossing your mind a little bit and your heart is yearning you towards it, but you're very focused on your lifestyle. At this 20 minutes and 39-second marks, we're going to go into the month of April. And I really like this month. It's not about relationships, but it's about finances again. For some reason not for some reason, but in any private 12-month reading, if you've ever done a 12-month or even a 6-month reading with me, sometimes a person will go into asking me for that kind of a private reading and they want it to be done in the realms of travel. And then as it turns out, maybe they're not traveling at all in that 6-month period. We can hope for things like love. We can hope for things like travel or whatever it is we want to think about when we're doing a 6-month reading. But if travel isn't actually in your 6-month reading, then guess what's going to show up in the reading? The other things that you're doing in your life. So while we're entering into this reading talking about tower moments in love at the beginning of the year, one thing to remember is other areas of your life might show up in this reading. And finances and economy seem to be a strong suit here. With that being said, just remember, we're only 4 months into a 12-month reading. I'm looking at those end of the year cards and I'm like, oh, buddy, you got good cards coming. You've got passion coming. We just have to get to it in that part of the reading because I see the Ace of Cups here. It's lovely. I see the Knight of Pentacles. It's lovely. I see the Ace of Wands. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a moment. But the Seven of Pentacles, that is the card that talks about a person whose efforts in the past for their finances is starting to pay off. Their lifestyle that they've been really focused on, all of a sudden they get in the month of April and they start to tangibly feel like a weight is lifted. Like someone who stressed out about their finances and it impacted their love life. If you take out the worry about the finances, then what you're left over with is a little bit of energy that you actually get to put towards your love life. This is what it kind of looks like. The Seven of Pentacles is here. And the Wheel of Fortune in the reversal. The Seven of Pentacles is abundance that you get. It's the card of the money tree, historically. Even though in the Japanese tarot deck we're using right now, it looks like the money lake. It's the same imagery. It's the same understanding. It just means that you are taking time and waiting patiently and working with a lot of effort on your lifestyle. And the Wheel of Fortune in the reversal, typically denotes a frozen state. To some degree, like a need to spin the wheel of life further. But the immediate intuitive thought that I keep getting about that card is that it was a risk. It's like you're waiting to see if there was a payoff of a risk that you took. Because the Seven of Pentacles, when it's not about money, it's investment. You've invested your time in something. So it almost looks like the Wheel of Fortune card in the reversal is somebody who invested in a certain lifestyle. And they're trying to see now in the month of April if that's what they should have invested in. Should they have invested in love? Or should they have invested in money? They're going to find out soon after April, it seems like, if they made the right decision. This is a very analytical time. This makes you look back on your relationship. If you're with somebody in the month of April, you'll probably find yourself wondering if the conversations you had in the previous months were the right things to do. If the way things unfolded were even necessary, or if you invested in a way of being that you didn't need to. For those of you who are separated from someone, again, you or your person could very well be looking at the thing that you invested in, especially if your person was invested in lifestyle, or if one of you was like all about your career. At that point in April, you might be double guessing that a little bit and wondering why you were led to believe in life, in your own belief systems, why you had to focus on one and not both, or why you didn't think that you could do it, why you let yourself be a little closed-minded, right? I'm going to pull one more card just because I feel like it. There's just a sentence in my head that says, pull another one. There's a little bit of intuition here. Yep, I freaking knew it. That's exactly, I knew it. The Nine of Cups is the card of wish fulfillment. Again, it looks like somebody is trying to get a certain wish, but they are wondering if they went for the wrong wish in the month of April. And look at the depiction of the Nine of Cups. You see that gentleman? He is a gluttonous gentleman. He is a big, oversized gentleman. And I am not speaking from a position of, shaming anybody's body size. I'm running from the depiction of a deck that's over 100 years old. And it's not this deck, but it's based on the Rider-Waite-Smith depictions, right? The Rider-Waite-Smith deck is over 100 years old. So back then they would depict gluttony, not just about gluttony of the body, because gluttony can show up in many ways, but they depicted it by looking at a person in symbolic reference to someone who's gotten way more than they needed. This guy has gotten his cake and eaten it too, metaphorically speaking. Over 100 years ago, that would have been the depiction. So again, not trying to point out his weight. Take it from me. 6 months ago, I was 242 pounds. Like I've been overweight my entire life, on and off. So I get it. But I'm not naive to how they used to depict somebody who got 9 cups and didn't need 9 cups, or focused on 9 cups in a way where they kind of pushed to the side the cups that would have been useful to them. So again, it's like a person who is analyzing why they chose the wishes that they did, and did the wish that they chose land them in grounded reality, or did it land them in the energy of unrealistic expectations, like that Nine of Cups gentleman? Yeah, he's a king, but does he look happy? No. He looks exhausted. He looks like he's gripping onto the chair almost more than he wants to grip onto the cup. He's surrounded by things that he gave himself, and yet for some reason, his demeanor is sadness because he didn't go and spin the wheel of life that got him the thing that his heart wants. This is a major life lesson, especially one on inaction and time. People think they have all the time in the world to do things, and then they realize, oh, maybe they made a wrong turn. Just so you know, though, you do have the High Priestess. Pardon me, you do have the Temperance card, which means you are being guided through this. So it's probably just you worrying about that you made the wrong decision, so that you can analyze why it might have been wrong in the past and why you should go for the things you actually wish for in the future instead of just focusing on lifestyle. Okay, 27 minutes and 38 seconds in. Let's get into the month of May, where we have the Two of Swords, a very guarded position. It's in the upright position here. Let's grab a clarification card. Usually the Two of Swords is blindfolded completely, but in this deck, it is a character known as I believe her name is the Kuchisake Onna, which means the slit-smiled woman in Japanese mythological understanding. She is not blindfolded, but she usually has her mouth covered until a moment where she kind of attacks. Remember, the Two of Swords, it is guardedness, but she's ready to use those swords at any moment. So she's protecting herself from what feels like a battle, even though there's nobody else in the image to battle with. So she's actually battling to some degree with her own self. Ha! The Wheel of Fortune just came back out in the upright position. No way. Oh my gosh, you or your person, whoever it is that you're dealing with. Again, it especially for those of you who met somebody new or were like maybe talking to somebody for a little bit in the previous months and that person didn't want to give you a chance, they are wrestling with that. Or if you're not dating anybody and you're wondering if you should have done something in your past to bring in love in a different way, or maybe deal with an ex in a certain way, you are wrestling with that. It's like you or your person, perhaps this is them, maybe they turned you down, maybe with the Fool card in the reversal, somebody didn't go forward, and for like 2 straight months they keep saying to themselves, did I make the right move? The energy completely continues itself in the month of May. I'll tell you though, something that's really interesting. Again, from the Arthur Edward Waite perspective, He said the Two of Swords is actually a card of building up courage. It's also a card of friendship. For those of you who are in a friend zone dynamic, like it genuinely looks like somebody's trying to build up their courage to talk to you, but they're very guarded. They're very protective. Hello, trust issues, right? And not just trust issues of another person, but they don't have the ability necessarily to trust the universe that much. And for those of you in a relationship, again, because this is a card of courage and friendship, Arthur Edward Waite also used the word affection and care when it came to the Two of Swords. And someone might think, oh my gosh, how the heck could this be a card of friendship and courage and caring? And you know why? Because in order for someone to be that damn protective of themselves, they must care about you a whole lot in order to protect themselves up like that. Because you become the thing that they're worried could hurt them. If they didn't care about you, if your person in a relationship or the person you're separated from didn't care about you, then they wouldn't protect themselves from you in the first place. They would just go and do their thing and go get with somebody else. Right? Or whatever the case is. Go off, live their life, be materialistic, yada, yada, yada. But the Two of Swords indicates this person cares a lot. They have deep affection, but they are, for some reason, guarded. Or you are guarded. And again, postulating in that month about how to go up and spin the wheel of life, how to make it so that you can come together with a particular person. Fighting your own demons, or they are fighting their own demons. Their own thoughts, essentially. This 31-minute mark and 13 seconds. Let's go on. Halfway now. Halfway through the year. And we are into the month of June. The Moon card is here. I'm going to pull a clarification for this because the Moon card, it's coming right before a very successful energy the next month in July. And the Moon card can mean confusion, you know, but it's heavy on the fertility energy. It's heavy on the mothering quality. So if hypothetically speaking, I was doing a pregnancy reading, which I do plenty of pregnancy readings. If you've ever gotten a same day 2-question reading from me for $20, the Moon card is one of those cards where I'm like, oh, you might be getting pregnant. For those of you in relationships who are trying to get fertile, June would be one of those months. But let's see for a second. Is it confusion? The Hanged Man. It's suspension. The moon is suspended above. The Hanged Man is a card of suspended attitude. It's a frozen energy. It can be a confusing energy, but it's also a feeling of a loss of control. I'm just shuffling a little bit more here. And the Nine of Pentacles. Confusion on singlehood. And independence connected to money and lifestyle. Again, Nine of Pentacles in the upright. I like it in the upright, though, because it's not just independence, but it's interdependence. It's a confusion on how to make your life work with the life of another person as a potential, even though you're not with that person. For some of you, you won't be with that person. And there's like this wantingness to make your lifestyle work. And also they might want to make their lifestyle work. But the problem in the confusion is like, how do you join these two value systems of two different people together? Now, also, I feel like one of your energy is the Nine of Pentacles and one of your energy is the Hanged Man, for those of you separated from someone, but also for those of you who are in a relationship. And I'm just saying that 6 months is a long time for you to continue to be separated from someone, but because because the Temperance card is there, it's supposed to happen like that for some of you. But also for those of you in relationships, again, separated or in a relationship, if you have your eye on a particular person, one of you looks like they're existing in the Nine of Pentacles, and the other one looks like they're existing in the energy of the Hanged Man. So again, one person very focused on their abundance and their lifestyle, and the other person just feels stuck in suspension, kind of having to go along with things while the ball is in the court of the person who's really focused on their lifestyle. It's like wanting to come together with a person or meet a mutual ground with someone, but that person just does not budge out of the material, out of their lifestyle, their job, their career, their education, and it leaves the other person suspended. Okay, now let's move on to July, because I want you guys to hopefully have a little bit more of an exciting end of the year. And it seems like it's starting here in July after these first couple of months in love just feel like somebody's constantly going through a cycle of getting their shit organized emotionally and intuitively. And the Knight of Pentacles is the card of long-term success and stability. I like that. I'm going to pull a clarification card. Does this person get long-term success and stability within a relationship, or are they freaking focused on their money still? Like, Knight of Coins. That's the Knight of Pentacles. That's why there's a big old coin on that card. It's one of the cards with the biggest coins. The only other big coin like that is going to be the Ace of Pentacles. It's the High Priestess in the reversal. Again, someone is gaining money, gaining abundance, gaining their independence, but they are still not following their heart. I was so hopeful for this. I was like, okay, long-term abundance, stability, is it going to be in the realms of love? No, it's not in the realms of love either. It's the High Priestess. We're repeating symbols, right? High Priestess card, laying directly on the High Priestess card after we already got the High Priestess card. It just dawned on me, though. It just dawned on me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so July is not where the High Priestess finally follows their heart, but it's sitting on top of the High Priestess card in the upright. Oh, we got to get to that month, because that's why the Ace of Cups is there and the Ace of Wands is after. All of this focus that somebody is doing right into the middle of the year. Focus on themselves. Focus on themselves. In fact, the next card of the Militant Leader is focusing on logistics and intelligence. But all of this time, where this entire journey, we've been saying, why is the High Priestess in the reversal? Why is the High Priestess in the reversal again? Why is the Fool card, which is so close to the High Priestess, in the reversal again? All of the times of someone's heart and someone's intuition is locked the fuck up. And then the month of September, which we're not at yet, the month of September is where the High Priestess finally flips itself up. And right after that happens, all of the good cards keep coming. So let's get into, at this 36-minute mark and 41 seconds, the month of August. Because we've got one more month of someone who's locked down emotionally, or intellectually rather, showing up. The King of Swords is that. It's interesting because the King of Swords, they are the militant leader. That's what this king is. He's a military leader, historically speaking. So he's someone who uses absolute strategy, like logistical, strategical intelligence to dominate. It's in the reversal, though, which I find is a little fascinating, because when he's in the reversal, you know what he means? The meaning that he actually is about is usually attributed to the King of Wands for some reason, but the King of Swords in the reversal is perversion. It is barbarity. That's why he looks like that too. See how the dynamic of the card uses the description of the oversized stomach? So it's that insinuation that yes, he's strong, he's got musculature to his arms, but he gets what he wants, he becomes gluttonous with it. It's that indication for conversations that could be had that are either very militant and dominant, like a person has a dominatrix or dominant energy, or they're talking filthy. They're perverse. Their perversion is showing. Maybe that person needs a little bit. Maybe if you are waiting on somebody or you're talking to somebody, this person, it's like they need to get lit up back into trust again by showing a side of them that's a little bit more devious and perhaps trusting you with that devious side. And I'm talking lust here. I'm talking like, well, let me pull another card, because again, perversion and barbarity is the name of the game with the King of Swords. So let's see. Nine of Wands. It's protection. He's still very protective. For some of you, I think for some of you, a few of you, you might find that someone has their walls up, but they might let themselves talk a little bit more perverse. You might have flirtatious conversations, but he's still very walled up. But for those of you who do not get the perverse aspect of the King of Swords, then it's barbaric, and it could be Stonewall. It could be just like someone who's acting like a stone, and they don't talk about those kind of things. They don't want to talk about love. They just want intellect, strategy, and protection, because that's the thing is the Nine of Wands historically is the card of the Palisade. which is the card of a medieval fortress that has all those wooden spikes outside of it. If you've ever seen a picture of a medieval fortress, the palisade is the spikes on the outside, which is why there's all of these wands here acting as spikes. And so the Nine of Wands means that somebody's going through something that's very heavy to them, and they protect themselves like crazy from it. And who better to protect themselves than the military leader, which is the King of Swords. And it's interesting also because prior to this, we're dealing with a lot of like High Priestess, card number 2, Fool card number 0, Two of Swords, card number 2, 4 of Swords. These are all very early number systems. And suddenly we get to this pinnacle moment where somebody is super freaking barricaded up and guarded. And we're hitting the Nine of Wands energy. And what happens with the Nine of Wands? Technically, 9 is a completion number. It's the 10 that goes on towards into the next cycle that hits the ace, right? But 9 in history was a completion aspect. So it feels to me like whoever's putting up this wall of protection in love, it becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. If you're in a relationship, I think that month in August is where the fullness of protection happens until it crumbles and this person, something's got to give. If you're separated from someone, again, you spend the entire first half of the year with this person barricaded up. And then that ultimate climax of barricading is finally going to give way in the next month of September. And for those of you who have been thinking about dating and getting into love, but you haven't like started dating anybody, it looks like you wall yourself up for 6 straight months until you get into the month of September, which we're going to get into now at this 41-minute and 20-second mark. Because we're getting into the High Priestess, and we're going to finally get those cards where you realize why, or they realize why there did not need to be this much guardedness. The High Priestess, the month of September, the month that we have been waiting for, where suddenly someone is following their freaking intuition. They have realized that going the path of fear and always focusing on perfection and rigidity is not the path to getting you the things that light your heart up. The job of the High Priestess in the upright position is to tear down the rigidity of the Hierophant, to tear down the rigid rules of the material world so that somebody can know that this entire time they have had it within them to successfully get love, or their wishes, whatever it is that is in their heart to light them up. When she's in the reversal, resistance to that path. But when she's in the upright position, this is why she's the second person. This is how important she is. She is so important that the High Priestess is the card. She's the second person that the Fool ever bumps into. Even before an Empress or an Emperor. Any of it, the High Priestess comes and says, here, let me show you the path. So that you don't fall into the trap of overthinking. Over rigid thinking. I'm going to shuffle a card here. The Ten of Pentacles. I'm not surprised at all. The Ten of Pentacles. My favorite card, by the way. But it's in the reversal. The Ten of Pentacles is the ultimate of the tens, you could say. Because all roads out of the minor arcana lead to the Ten of Pentacles. It is supposed to be the card in the upright where you have people who come together, stability, finance, children, family, love, your career, your identity. On the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, there is a coat of arms symbol up in the upper left-hand corner of 2 houses or 2 people who have joined together to get their completion with abundance pouring over top of them because they came together. In the reversal position, you can see that a person is not there yet, but they have to follow the intuition to get them there. The Ten of Pentacles is also the card of taking a chance. It feels like taking a risk and being afraid that there's going to be a fatality involved in taking this risk. But because the High Priestess is the card of following your intuition, it is the intuition that is saying, take that chance. Take the chance, get out there, talk to the person, enter into the dating world, lead with your heart instead of leading with stress and arguments and rigidity, and receive the gift that the universe has for you. As much as the Ten of Pentacles feels like a risk and feels like fatality, one of the interpretations that Arthur Edward Waite gives for the Ten of Pentacles is literally the word gift when it's in the reversal. Even a dowry, you know what a dowry is, right? It's that marriage gift. It is, but it comes once people have united and come together. Because remember, the Ten of Pentacles is two people or two houses joining together. So there is if you find yourself with your eye on someone, or you're in a relationship, or you just started speaking to somebody in that month of September, the universe is saying, go all in. And now let us get to the month of October, because apparently it's only going to take 1 month and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I took that risk and it paid off. The very next month, the month of October, you have the Ace of Cups. Supreme overflowing of emotions. The beginning of an entire new situation that comes, like I said, right after the 10 is the Ace, right? That comes after the risk and the chance was finally had. And all of a sudden, the best point of love for the year of 2026 enters for the sign of Pisces, and it is sitting in the the month, not the birthday, the month of October in the birth season of Libras and Scorpios. Pisces are getting a benefit of that October time frame. Pisces, you're very much in your element at that time, by the way, with the Ace of Cups card, because is that not the water sign energy? Ain't that 3 tail fins on that depiction? It's almost got a Lemuria, not Lemuria, what's that girl from the Starbucks cup? In Greek mythological history. It starts with an L, but it also starts with an M. I can't remember the character in Greek mythology with the twin tails. That's going to drive me nuts. Anyways, Piscean energy, we'll put it off like that. Maybe at the end of this reading, my brain is going to go like, oh yes, that's the mythological character. Ace of Cups is sometimes, again, fertility energy. When I do pregnancy readings, that's a secondary card that says you're about to have the kind of family dynamics come in that involve things like pregnancy. So for those of you who are trying, just like the month of June was a good month, the month of October is a better month, because the month of June involved confusion with the moon, but the month of October is certainty. It is people coming together on the right path. It is this feeling of, again, overflowing happiness. And the card that we have here is the 8 of Swords in the reversal, which, by the way, is the card of fatality. Here's the thing, though. Your main energy for the month is overpouring joy. Your clarification of the month is the 8 of Swords in the reversal, where you felt like there was a fatality. Remember, those cards came up already. That idea that somebody was afraid of taking a risk. Somebody was afraid that if they took a chance with the 10 of Pentacles and with the Wheel of Fortune showing up multiple times, they were afraid if they took a risk, it was going to lead to a fatality, right? And instead, when we've got the card of fatality coming back up, we've got the Ace of Cups connected to it. It's almost as if we're saying the risk and the fatality wasn't actually something that was going to be fatal. It was going to lead to that dynamic of supreme happiness. It's paying off. I'm going to pull one more card for that one. Let's see what else we have here. I knew she was coming. I knew the Hierophant was going to be involved in this reading. This is the card of the rigid thinking that we said was going toe-to-toe with the card before from the High Priestess. This tells me that the High Priestess, in part, has torn down the rigid thinking of this person. It was this person's rigid thinking that was causing fatalities, and they are realizing it. I do suspect they will still have to work on a little bit of that train of thought and closed-mindedness as you go forward. Now, this to me looks like being in an established relationship with somebody. For those of you who thought you weren't going to date anybody, October is the time frame. the person that you have your eye on now. Whether you're separated, you have your eye on them. Whether you're in the friend zone, you have your eye on them. Whether you're in a relationship, clearly you have your eye on that person. Whichever of those groups you fall under in that October, you are now certifyingly aware that that is somebody that you have interest in coming together with, and you know that they want you. This is not confusion anymore. In fact, the Hierophant comes across as the card of commitment. I would beckon to say that many of you will not be single when it comes to October. It will be dating game time. Game on, okay? But the Hierophant card, that lesson, though, in taking down someone's rigid thinking, it's usually something that a person does have to continue learning in different areas of their life. So I would say that the High Priestess took care of a huge chunk of this person's rigid thinking. And then if you practice it with them and you show them that they didn't need, not that it's your responsibility to show another person, but I mean, some of the activities that you do with this person could certainly help, where you could help them to gain trust, that it's not all something that needs to be perfect. And that might help them in different areas of their life lighten up on the leftover pieces of their rigid thinking. Or you might meet somebody who's about to do that for you, where suddenly you see, oh my gosh, I'm with a person and that's a good man, Savannah. You know, you're like, wow, is this what it feels like to be with a good man or a good woman? Can I trust this now? And then they start to show you that you didn't need to be so walled up. Remember, the card of the Tower is the card of the walls falling. Inside of the Tower is the Hierophant. He's the one who's got the walls surrounding him that needs to be torn down by the High Priestess. Wow. What a learning and growth adventure for that particular month of October. 50 minutes and 54 seconds in. Let's get into the month of November here. As we get into a little bit of a suspicion energy. The Page of Swords is here. The Page of Swords historically is the spy. A lot of people always say the page cards are like someone's creeping on you, someone's watching your social media. And that's usually attributed to the Page of Swords because the Page of Swords is an actual spy. That's why he looks like a samurai in this image, an assassin. And the energy of the spy in the Arthur Edward Waite perspective was that a king usually sends a spy to another kingdom to watch over things. And he sends his Page of Swords to gather information. So it's not just a card of like someone spying on you. Although if you just did have a wonderful experience in the month of October, I would not be surprised if someone is checking on your social media and reminding themselves of how awesome you are. Or you reminding yourself of how awesome they are. So you could very well be spying on each other. But the Page of Swords is also knowledge, gathering information, because that's what he does. Before that assassin goes to assassinate someone, or before the spy comes and gives his message back to the king, he has to historically gather the information in order to like solidify his understanding about what's happening. So this person or yourself is it's like you're welcome, or they are welcome to having a more open perspective now, but they're still being a little bit sleuthful. They're still analyzing a lot. They're not just like jumping headfirst in. They haven't just dipped a toe into their relationship aspect with you. I think they've stood waist high. It's like getting into cold water and seeing, is this okay? And analyzing it. You're in the water. They're in the dating game with you. But they're still apprehensive of whether the water is going to be cold or whether they can lay back and enjoy the shit. I will say, though, the Page of Swords is in the reversal position. I put it up in the upright just so you could see the picture of it, but it originally was in the reversal, which tends to be the more negative aspects of spying. Okay. Someone's a little bit jealous. That's why they're spying. There's a beautiful story, I think, with the Five of Wands, but to understand it, you have to understand the Two of Wands, the Three of Wands, the Four of Wands. Let's get into a history lesson. Again, if you've ever had a private reading with me, I'm not trying to be your average tarot card reader. I'm trying to do it right and get at the heart of this deck so that you can have an effective lesson learning experience when you're doing tarot. And in the Two of Wands card, There's a picture of a man. He's looking to the future. He's got the world in his hand. I mean, he literally is holding a globe in his hand in that depiction. And Arthur Edward Waite says that that is the card that likens itself to the energy of Alexander the great emperor from 2,000 years ago. When he's standing with that earth in his hand, he's saying to himself, I could go after and get whatever I want in this world. And in the Three of Wands card, instead of holding the world in his hand, he actually looks out to the actual world and he sees 3 boats. And on those 3 boats are a whole bunch of gold. And he looks at those boats and he says, now that I've analyzed the whole world, in all of the world, I want to go after those boats because those boats have the gold on it. I'm going to use a metaphor here in a second so you can understand why I'm telling you this story. And then in the Four of Wands, he has actually got the gold. He went onto the boat. He's got the gold. He's come together with his people. And he's celebrating this beautiful, abundant harvest because he got the thing that he wanted. But now that he's got the harvest, and actually the Four of Wands is about people coming together. Notice that the Five of Wands is here. That means people have already come together. I'm telling you, you guys are dating in September. Starting in... We're on November. It says starting September, but dating by October. And now in November, if you're at the Five of Wands, like I said, to understand the Five of Wands, first understand the cards that come before it. The Four of Wands shows that people have come together. They are uniting in harvest. But the Five of Wands is when other people see that and want the gold that these two people who have come together just got. That's why the Five of Wands is a card of competition and jealousy. It's because you've got something valuable and people know it now. It's the card of not just people spying on their partner, but it's also people around their partner who are looking at you. This is a dynamic of family who could look at you or could look at your new partner, wondering who is this new partner that you're with and why do you guys look so happy? Or maybe it could be exes who are looking at the situation and being like, have their watchful eye. Both of these cards have that energy. This is the card of the spy. This is the card of many jealous people. And what do many jealous people do? They spy. So we've got 2 cards doubling down on the fact that somebody's watching. If it is in the relationship, then it could be that you or your person have a tendency to be envious of situations. You're like, I've got this man or I've got this woman, and you don't want anybody near your gold. Your Four of Wands card, if it was here, is the gold. You don't want nobody touching your gold. So you might have to watch out for a little bit of a jealous streak. If that is you, just watch out for that. Don't put water over the good, passionate fire that you have because of a little bit of jealousy and envy, and hopefully your person won't do the same thing. But that leads us now at the 56-minute mark and 59 seconds to investigate the month of December. And we have the Ace of Wands in the reversal position. This, let me just see here, Ace of Wands is a very passionate situation, and it is a very joyous one. But I will say it is the card of a clouded joy. But it can be decadence. So I'm going to pull an extra card here because it can be somebody who's just wanting to spoil the hell out of you. It's no wonder there's the energy of clouded joy. Is if you and this person are spoiling each other, that you might be diving headfirst into, what's the phrase? The honeymoon phase. Yeah, where you guys are just going all out. Decadence, luxury on each other. Especially if you guys had a false start at some point, because the Ace of Wands can be cards where you tried to start a relationship. Previously it didn't work, and all of a sudden you get to redo the attempt. In the month of December, no better time than Christmas than to be taking each other out on Christmas dinner. For those of you who are interested in the Christian way of celebrating, having a nice evening out at the restaurant. Let's see what we have. The Ace of Swords. Uh-oh. Sorry. It's just that it's interesting because the 2 aces have a particular meaning. 2 aces in the upright means accord, coming together. 2 aces in the reversal means trickery, which sucks. 1 ace in the upright and 1 ace in the reversal is when people are getting along, but they're everything's good, but it's clouded. Again, there is a propensity towards wearing rosy colored glasses and to some degree tricking your own selves about how good it could be in the long term. Like having it, like that's what happens usually in honeymoon phases of relationships. You're with somebody, it's going so damn good, and you almost forget that there's a point where, with the Ace of Swords, where you guys could stumble in the future. That doesn't mean you will end. These are not breakup cards. This doesn't mean complete failure. It just means to treat each other as humans, which means, you know, you have good moments and you're going to have bad moments, and then you'll have some more good moments, and then you'll have some more boring moments. And so it's just, it feels like a little bit of self-delusion, but because there's so much joy happening. Just bear that in mind. Don't put each other up on a pedestal too much when you're experiencing the clouded joy energy. And I don't hate clouded joy. I know it can come with naivety. But I think there's some points in life where it's like the sirens in mythology, which brings me back to that Greek concept. Some things are just so good. They look so beautiful. You've got men who would make poems and great art about the sirens, and those sirens were seductive as hell, had a lot of fire, had a lot of passion, until they ate you afterwards. So but before those sirens ate you, those great men experienced great attraction, mystic experiences. And again, wanting to just lavish themselves in abundance and poetry, and just like a whirlwind swept you off your feet. So you see what I'm saying? It's really good energy. It's just, don't be naive about things that are that good. They can't last forever. You experience them while they are there, and then you watch to make sure you don't stumble in the future. The last thing that I want to do here is I was going to pull out one more card, but I actually just pulled out two. It's the Fool in the reversal, and it's the Lovers in the reversal. I think the reason why there's so much cloudedness is because you guys are handling your bodies so much instead of your heart. I think your hearts could be in this, but I do think there is a slight propensity towards being more of the carnal body in the month of December. Because the Fool in the upright, he's supposed to follow his heart, but in the reversal, he's resistant to it. And the Lover's card in the upright is balance with the masculine and feminine. In the reversal, it's the energy of the devil. The Lover's characters, they show up on the Devil card in tarot. And that Devil card is about bondage, and especially bondage of the carnal body, where people are dealing with a lot of their body, like the wands, because historically that wand is a phallic symbol of male genitalia, instead of their intellect. And with the Fool card, instead of necessarily their heart. So just make sure that if you are wrapping yourself physically around somebody's body, keep your boundaries still. Don't let it get to the best of you too much, you know. Have fun with it, but also be wise and discerning in the activities that you're doing around that Christmas season. Now that is everything that I have for you here. I'm going to leave you off with letting you know that if you want a reading, I suppose, you can always get a hold of me in the description below this video, or the link above my bio if you ever want a private reading or a quick 2-question reading. Again, those are only $20. Readings like the 6-month readings or the 12-month readings are also things that you can go for. Some of my free readings are already up on TikTok right now, including the love readings for the month of January. I got some extra ones over there. And now that I have all 12 signs uploaded in a playlist on YouTube, you guys can come back to these videos anytime you want. And they will always be here for the entire year of 2026. So I'm going to start uploading some regular random love readings, financial readings, not financial advice, just financial tarot entertainment for the next little bit. I'm going to get into some I'm going to start off back with the sign of Aries and get some new YouTube videos up. Thank you very much, you guys. You guys are a blast. I love you. I will talk to you later, and ciao for now.